Hello, my name is Billy Nash, and today I'll be doing a Microsoft Excel tutorial video on the Countifs and Sumifs functions in Microsoft Excel. The Countifs function is similar to the Countif function, and same with the Sumifs function. It's the same as the Sumif function, but the only difference is that in these ones, the ones with the ifs, is you can put multiple criteria to multiple criteria for what it is counting or what it is summing. So with a countif function, you could only say count if it, and like for this table, this is a table of orders for a store, say count only if it was from Wisconsin, and you couldn't do a second count if it's from Wisconsin and in the central region. The sumif function is the same, or the sumif function was the same. You could only do sum if it was in the West, not sum if it was in the West and California. So that's the difference between the sumif and countif and the countifs and sumifs functions. So we'll start with using the countifs function, and I just set up a little table here with a couple of drop-down menus for our different regions and our different products. So it's just simply this table up here are in these highlighted cells here. So to start our countifs function, we'll do it like any other function, equals countifs. And then now it's going to ask for our criteria range 1, and that will be the first column, or row I guess, first range that we wanted to look through for our first criteria we're going to set. So for our first one, let's do our region. And say we will ultimately say we want the total orders for the West region that sold, the total number of orders that were in the West region that sold art, let's say. So our first criteria range will be our regions column up here. So we're going to highlight our total columns here and then put comma. And then for our next, it's asking for our first criteria, and then we're going to click on this cell here with our the drop-down menu for our different regions, so we can choose different regions to get different results in the end. And then we're going to do a comma, and now we're going to choose our second criteria range, and that is going to be the product. So we'll highlight this column as well, comma, and then we want the criteria for our second criteria range will be this column here, our drop-down menu for our products. So we'll click that cell, and then if we press enter, it shows that it's calculating 0 because we have not put our values in there for our criteria. And we said we wanted to know the total orders in the West region that were art, and so we'll click our West and then art. And there we go. It's saying that of our 200 odd orders, I think, that this list is, there were 8 that were to the West region and that contained art, or that were an art product. And so that's how we can use the countifs function with our 2 different criteria. And then, with the data validation, which I covered in a different video, you can make these drop-down lists to quickly help you sum stuff up. So let's say we want North now, and we want to look at chairs. There were none in the North with chairs. Let's try the East for chairs. We've got 3 chairs. How about bookcases? 3 bookcases, it looks like. What about furnishings? 6 furnishings. So that's how you could use the countifs functions. And things to watch out with for these functions is that it needs to be an exact, when you're using text at least, it needs to be an exact spelling. I couldn't put furnishing in here, and it wouldn't count anything because it would only be looking for furnishings, not furnishing. And that will be the same with the sumif function. So now let's do an example with the sumifs function. And we have our same drop-down menus here with our regions and products. And this one is very similar to the countifs, except there's one extra step. So we'll begin our function like any other one, equals sumifs, and then our sum range. So this is going to be the range of cells that it's going to add the values of that meet our criteria that we're going to set. And so for this, we want our let's say we want our total sales for our regions and products, because those are our two drop-down menus. So we're going to want our total, or our sales column here, to be our sum range. So we'll click on the first one there and highlight that, comma, and then now it's asking for our first criteria range. It was just highlighted and saw I was figuring out what happened. So now it's asking for our first criteria range, and this part will be the same as the Countifs function. So our criteria range, then, number one, will be our region. So we will get back up to the top and highlight our regions column, comma, and then our next and then the criteria, for our first criteria range will be this regions drop-down menu cell here, comma, and then our criteria range number two, that'll be our product column again. So we'll click our product. Let's make sure we're at the top. Product. Highlight those. I put another comma then, and then we will click for the criteria to be our drop-down menu with the different products in it. Click enter. Again, it's calculating a value or a sum of 0. So now as we change our different values or our different drop-down menus here to our things, it'll calculate and sum up the total sales that meet those criteria. So here, all the orders that were art in the West region totaled $1,190.83, and we can continue to look at different amounts and see how our function works. And that is how you can use the Countifs and Sumifs functions. And again, just make sure you got your correct cells highlighted and that your criteria is an exact match to what is in your criteria ranges. And that is it.